Good afternoon, class. So today we will have to talk about the current affairs of 22nd of June. So the first news is related to the Supreme Court seeking government decision on ex gratia payment. So there have been question and a petition that has been filed in the Supreme Court of India in extending the relief to the people who have been basically wrongly affected because of the COVID. Two factors have to be taken into account. In the Disaster Management Act, there is a provision that under any form of disaster, there had to be a 4 lakh rupees that is needed to be given to the individual for maintaining the loss that he have suffered. The second issue is that the government have declared it a disaster, but what kind of disaster they generally rate it. So these are the petition that has been filed. But I hope you understand. We had a Disaster Management Act. Under the Disaster Management Act, there is a provision that under any disaster, there is a extension of approximately minimum of 4 lakh rupees that is needed to be provided to the affected families. When we say about that, there were two questions that Supreme Court have basically posed to the government of India. The first question that they have asked is that whether the provision for Disaster Management Act is what currently confining you. You did not have any other law, that's why you provided for disaster management law being applicable to the COVID and you have declared it as a disaster, but you do not want to basically apply all the provisions of the disaster management, only the relevant provision that has been stated by the government. Secondly, you have said that there is no money that is available to the government. Do you mean that the money is not available to the government, or you want to basically justiciably use the money for the future courses? So these were the things that have been done explaining by the government. The government have said that giving possibly every person a 4 lakh rupees for the COVID related situation and the deaths that have occurred in the time of the strain finances that the government is currently through without raising much taxes and the other financial activities that have gone to halt because of the COVID lockdown is impossible for the government to maintain, and it will bear may not be impossible, but it will bear a sufficient amount of pressure on the government with regard to the things in which they would be acting. So that has been the case, and that's why they have been saying that they are focusing to use the funds for food, medical care, and the future pandemic if God forbids they come, and what other procedures and things that the people have to basically prepare for. So I hope this is clear. The next news is related to Indira Gandhi Canal repair accomplished in record time. So this is the Indira Gandhi Canal that extends from the state of Punjab, then goes to the state of Rajasthan for the irrigation purposes. Now there was some, I think 60 kilometer that was needed to be repaired, and it has been repaired in 60 days. That is the record time. And most of it has been contained in the state of Rajasthan. So state of Rajasthan needed to be repaired, needed to be applauded with regard to the commendable work that they have done for maintaining all the restructuring activities, the removal of the silt and the other things. So that is why it is important. The next one is the BT cotton adoption showed benefit that has been set by study. Now the study have been only taken into twofold benefits, the environmental benefits and the benefits that are related to the yields. But the yields, whether they have declined over the time or they have increased over the time, they have not been debated here. However, the reduction in the insecticide have direct impact with regard to the human health and also the environmental health, and the situation with regard to the usability and also the productivity, quality and the shelf life may have increased because of the use of the BT cotton. Now please remember, this BT cotton is the initial form of cotton. This particular cotton has been insecticide tolerant, but after that insecticide tolerant we have seen two major brokerage of the insects, one in the form of whitefly and second in the form of bollworm. Now they have already occurred, but still it has remained one of the most prominent or the only genetically modified crop, commercial crop to be used in the state of India. So that has been the case here, and that is what the stable cotton yield have declined. However, how much it have declined, that has not yet been discussed, but the long impact has been beneficial because of it. The full research we do not know, but that has been the case here. The next one is the time to give. Now, what is this time to give? Now, again, the same issue, the Disaster Management Act 2005, Section 12, which mandates that there should be a recommendation or providing a type of a financial benefit or monetary benefit for all the people who have suffered adversely in that. Now, what the government should do, the government should pay either the 4 lakh money or given an ex gratia compensation. Now, we understand that the government hands are also tied, so there should be a common provision with regard to extending some type of money to that. Now, when we talk about the original things that the government have done, whether the government have done enough to give such amount of money. Now, when we talk about utilization and the conservation of the resources, it is for the public welfare. But then again, the question rises whether the public welfare of the people who have died is not also the guarantee of the people, also the guarantee of the government, or should government should not also open to provide some extra cash and money so that they could benefit. Now, when we talk about the top rich of the people, if 1% taxation is being charged, then it will approximately amount to, you can say, 3.3% of the GDP. So 3.3 lakh crore is the actual amount if you tax the 1% top richest person or extend the limit by 1%. So 3.3 lakh crore is the actual money that you can get. So I think that will be sufficient enough if you give every person 4 lakh rupees. But such huge substantial amount of injection of the money into the economy may also have some inflationary pressures, as people have already raised concern and have apprehension regarding giving direct cash transfers. However, I think in the upcoming days you are going to see increasing pressures from the corporate groups, because already they have enjoyed much of the benefits, the corporate tax rate cuts, the moratoriums, and also the write-offs from the bank's balance sheet, in which various corporates have now come into a feasible market. So all the measures that yet have been taken are taken for the government part. So that is under the Atmanirbhar Bharat package 1, 2 and 3, which provided a type of a relief for the corporates and made their life easier, because they were the prime holders of the jobs and the other things, and it was supposed that they will not let go of those persons who have been working in the company, so that a substantial amount of economic system will always in place, rather also at a suboptimal level. But what have happened over the year, the demand have plummeted because a lot of people have been cordoned off from the jobs. So in regard to that, the people have not returned to the jobs. There is a all-time high unemployment rate of approximately 15.6%, as has been estimated by CMI estimates. So we also have to counter and have to factor in for that the cash transfer, maybe not to the individual, but I think certain amount of substantial people, specifically from the vulnerable section, who will be adversely affected, should be given a certain amount of universal basic income, quasi universal basic income. And in that, there have been concern on either side whether the money will lead to conspicuous behavior of the people. It will lead to reluctance to work, and whenever it has been given into the hand of the family that is headed by the woman, definitely the quality, well-being and the health of the family have improved, because then the family had some money that can specifically be focused upon certain other items such as education, health and other parts. So I think that is a good time to basically seek a debate about the universal basic income, because it is one of the major topic that the government basically have been talking about from 2017 from the economic survey, where first it was published, and right now I think it seems a proper time to basically have a active discussion about it and therefore involve certain vulnerable sections under it. Okay? So इस बात को ध्यान रखिएगा. Next one is the state of India's poor must be acknowledged. Now this is very important article by Shima Chishti. Please make notes of it. The first one is with regard to the states of India's poor. So she starts by saying that whenever a survey was conducted in London during the Charles Dickens time in 1885, there was a probability and also the estimation of the poverty or the people who are living in abject poverty in London. At that particular time, there have been a lot of people, and according to an estimates, there have been a person who have said, or from the government perspective, it has been said that only 25% of the people in the London are living in abject poverty. When they talked about this, there have been a problem with regard to the correct estimation, and a person called as Charles Booth said that you have not corrected your data, so basically I will go door to door and collect the survey. In his survey, it has been found that there were approximately 33% or almost 1/3 of the total population who have been basically in abject poverty or directly getting affected by it. Now, why this is imperative in case of India? Because we do not have any data with regard to the person who have fallen under the poverty line, or there have been a problem with regard to the poverty-ridden people. Now, in India, the problem is manifold. When we talk about the definition of the poverty line, the Tendulkar Committee and the Rangarajan Committee have not provided much acceptance and also the estimation according to which they have generalized that only 25% and 29% of the people are under the poverty line, and the rigid poverty line has always been debated on the basis of the calorific value. But even if we take a generalized or a more open or upward revision of the poverty line, which is estimated by the World Bank at the amount of $2 per day, then only there will be a large amount of people who will be slipping to the poverty line. Now, in India, there are three determinants that we have to look for that will give us clear picture with regard to the precarious situation that we are currently seeing, the people who are falling into the poverty line. First of all is that the per capita consumption have been decreasing. The second one is the global hunger index. We have fallen as compared to the previous year. Other than that, India's own National Family Health Survey have raised concerns and flags with regard to the malnutrition and the undernutrition or the stunting or wasting of the children. So that has been the three cases or three evidences that we have to look for, that the situation in India with regard to the food security and the poverty is not there, because poverty, or you can say the food security, is a direct consequence of a people that are falling into the poverty line. Now, when we talk about from 2006 to 2016, India have basically uplifted 271 million people, that is the 27 crore people out of the poverty line. And in that, the research that was conducted in March 2021, this research indicated that India basically have the people who have fallen into the poverty line have doubled from approximately 60 million, that is 6 crore people, to 13 crore people. So there is extra addition of 6 crore people that we have seen. Now from 2020, India have contributed, if we talk about the global middle income countries, almost whole of the, actually there was a survey in 2016, the same survey that provided for by the World Bank, that there has been an upliftment of 27 crore people in India. Now these 27 crore people were approximately 60% of the total global middle class growth. Now please remember, I don't know if you remember or not, this also had come in the last year, I think in the month of October or November. So there was a very good article at that particular time also, which said that India was unilaterally responsible for 60% of the contribution for the upliftment of the global poor. तो ये जो हमारे 27 करोड़ लोग हैं, they constituted about 60% of the people for out of upliftment of the poverty line. And at that particular time, there was a tussle between the Modi government and the Congress government, that these are the policies that are effective because of them. And majority of the work have been done during the initial years from 2006 to 2014. After 2000, or you can say 2012. After 2012, there was not much work that was done from 2014 to 2016. Now, this has been one of the case of the debate that we have to currently debate about. Now, why numbers matter, first of all? Because if you have to give a number that how many people are below the poverty line, you have to give an exact number that these are the people who have now, as a total form of population, under the poverty line. Now, with regard to that, first of all, there are three things. Public opinion accountability is the one. The second one is the evaluation of the policies, because there may be certain policies such as the tax reduction that you have been given to the corporates, whether it is helping the poor or not. The rich are getting help, they are preserving their money, they are the capital resources of your nation, but is the equitable distribution of the resources also amongst the poor? Then there is the stock market. We have seen that the stock markets have billionaires, and the questions that we have to raise is that whether the increase in the stock market or the wealth of the increase of the rich people is on the account of the decrease in the wealth of the poor people. I hope this is clear. Now, when we talk about the chairman of the National Commission for Enterprises in Organized Sector, he have said that there are 83 crore people in the inorganized sector that are still marginalized, and the poor march is current, or you can say the march of the poor to the poverty line or below the poverty line is clear, because specifically the backward communities are vulnerable, more prone to again fall into the poverty because they have little resources, and therefore the possibility of rising up is also less. Now, there are no subhuman value. There is existence of majority of the fellow Indians that are currently proposed in that. So that has been the case here. The next one is the with rising saddle, the road ahead for Iran and the perpetual battle. Now, this is Afghanistan, and this is Iran. So with regard to the Iran, I think you know all the issues. There are 3 or 4 major issues: sanctions, nuclear, and the hardline at home. So the domestic compulsions, the external compulsions, the sanctions, and the role of USA. That has been the 3 cases. Although it has been said that Raisi is a hardliner and he is also the protege of the particular person called as El Khamenei over there. See, the people have basically raised the question over the election in which the manner of rejecting the candidates by the Guardian Council and also the low participation of the people have raised question. Now they also have to make a domestic legitimacy to the election, even if the people have not waited. The Iranian authorities have given the evidence that due to the time of the COVID and the prevalent conditions right now, not much participation was seen, but still there was a problem with regard to the choosing of the persons to the leader, because the Guardian Council without any reason have basically created a mix in which all the moderate leaders have been pushed away and the hardliners have been given an accommodative space, or you can say as a type of a transcendental position with regard to the other people. So that has been the case. The next one is the perpetual war. So perpetual war is the continuous war or the forever war that have fallen upon the president. Now, please remember there have been a lot of controversies regarding it, but 3 realities we have to basically contain. When USA came to Afghanistan in 2001, they hoped that they will establish a democratic state by eliminating Taliban. Over the time, they have changed their philosophy that they will only not eliminate Taliban, but they will restrict the influence of Taliban. Then they again changed their philosophy that the democratic government is not their responsibility. They will be in conjunction and will be providing forces or training to the Afghani army, and they will have to deal themselves with Taliban. Ultimately, what happened that they said that we cannot train the Afghan force because it is taking a heavy toll on our army. So therefore, we will be exiting from Afghanistan, but we will ensure that there should be a stable government. Right now, the situation is such that the deal is already brokered. Taliban attacks have increased. They have gained influence. The peace is nowhere. The democratic setup is on a very vulnerable, critical, and unstable juncture that may fall into any of the side. So that has been the case and concerns. The neighboring countries have a concern in that, specifically India with regard to Taliban and Al-Qaeda, the linkages between them and how the Pakistan based agencies ISI can be very well push those attacks into the territory of India through the route of Jammu and Kashmir. So that has been the case, and what we are looking for, a peaceful, sustainable and a long-term peace, which does not seem possible in the time of you can say Mr. Joe Biden right now. Okay. The next news is related to the more federal structure. Now, why this is being debated? Because first of all, please remember, Lochan Shastri is professor of IIM Bangalore, and what he have said or what he have debated, he have said that the federal structure in India is basically highly skewed in the favor of the states who are more populated, and it is unfavorable to the states which are less populated. So he have compared what the states do and how the financial resources in the state are basically shared. According to him, or also according to the Finance Commission, he says that the southern states are getting inappropriate less amount of taxes that are due from the center. So what he says, do not go into the data, just remember 2 or 3 data that I'm telling you. He says, first of all, there are 2 types of taxes that a state have. The taxes that are given by the center government, the grants that are given by the center government, and secondly, the taxes that are raised by their own state governments. Now the northern states are basically not very good in raising the taxes, and their contribution to the central pool of taxes is also not very good. If you involve Maharashtra, Delhi, Karnataka, Gujarat and Tamil Nadu, they contribute about 70% of the taxation to the center. But how much they are getting? They are only getting 51% of what they are contributing. So 72% they are contributing and they are only getting 36% of the taxes from the center. I hope you understand. ठीक है, बोलने का मतलब क्या है कि महाराष्ट्र, दिल्ली, कर्नाटका, गुजरात और तमिलनाडु जितना कमा के देते हैं, that constitute about the total taxes that the center collect, about 72%. But out of that 72%, only 50% is being provided to the southern states. तो सिर्फ 72% तो वो कंट्रीब्यूट करता है, सिर्फ 36% इज गिवन टू द सदर्न स्टेट्स. He have taken the example of Bihar. Bihar is basically whatever taxes that they provide, they are given double the amount of what money that they are getting. तो अगर मान लीजिए बिहार जो है 10 लाख करोड़ कमा के देता है, तो बिहार को वापस कितना मिलता है? 20 लाख करोड़. So according to him, he says that the allocation, if it is there, it needed to be fairer, needed to be related to the more economic realities of the ground and the taxes that are currently given. And the regional countries, we need to basically change that. There have to be an equitable balance of the finance commission in which the consideration of all the states are currently should be given. I think for the unity and integrity of the country, I think every state should move forward at an equal pace. That is also the responsibility of the government. So I completely disagree with this particular article. Not because that I belong to the state of HP, which is currently dependent on the grants in aid from the central government, but if you give financial autonomy to a particular state, that is the first step to basically plant in the provision of secession or plant in regional countries. So you should not do that. You should keep united India. That is the provision that every states have to follow, and that is what you have to follow also. And the central government have been given a transcendental position with regard to the allocation of the financial resources within the states. So that has also been one of the responsibility. The next one is the decriminalization of the suicide. So please remember, this is very, very important. First of all, what happens in India and what is the new article or the government amendment with regard to the section 309C and the Mental Health Care Act. What does it do? There are three provisions with regard to it. First of all is the suicide rate in India and the Southeast Asia. If we compare, the suicide rate of India is the highest. When we talk about World Health Organization, depression, chronic health, guilt, trauma, substance abuse, failure in exam could be some of the reasons that could lead to a person committing suicide. Now, when we talk about in India, according to the report of NCRB, there are 1.34 lakh people annually who have committed suicide in India. And for this, there is a section 309 of IPC. Now, what does section 309 of IPC does? It provides for punishment for the suicide. Now, the question is whether a person who is committing suicide is a reformation, is a need of reformation, or is a need of punishment. Now, British have decriminalized the suicide from 1861, and it have stayed in the Indian law as such. Now, with regard to the two arguments with regard to the prevention of the suicide, there are two things that are prevalent in India. The one is the penal provision and second one is the decriminalization, because there are arguments on either side. The first one is the penal provision. Now, there was a Gyan Kaur case in the state of Punjab. Now, in that, she tried to commit suicide under the Article 21, because under Article 21, you have a right to life. So, when she tried to commit suicide, it was constituted that you cannot do that because right to life is a provision that is contained in Article 21 of the Constitution, and you cannot violate the Constitution. So, you should not commit suicide. Therefore, penal provision were there. And in that particular case, it was recognized that suicide is an unnatural termination of a life, and therefore, as it is not provided by the Constitution of India, therefore it is inconsistent with the right of life. Therefore, it demands penal provision, or the government have to provide certain restrictions so that it could be stopped. I hope you understand. Right to life is Article 21. So, if you take something that is other to, or that is unnatural to Article 21, against Article 21, you are bound to be punished, because for every fundamental right, if it is violated, it is bound to be punished, even if it is your personal right, because that is another debate. The second party which calls for decriminalization, because the other party are more affectionate to it, they say that you are providing right to life, a penal provision, but you have to understand that the person who have been committing or thinking of committing suicide is under a lot of pressure. So he had to be basically provided a type of a better measures and intervention so that he could be counseled, made productive, and should be lead to transformation to leave the suicidal thoughts away. Now, in that, there have been a problem with regard to the 309 constitution. Now, what happens in that? Because if you are trying to committing suicide and you fail to commit suicide, if you commit the suicide, then all the cases cancel there. But if you try to commit suicide and you somehow fail, you will be put under criminal charges in which you will be suffering approximately 6 months of jail or maybe a certain fine also. Now, in that, the Supreme Court said that 309 is unconstitutional. Now, when they said that it is unconstitutional, on which basis they said that this is unconstitutional? On one hand, you are saying that the government is obliged to basically protect you under Article 21. On the other hand, अगर 309 ही अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल हो जाएगा तो उसको बेसिस क्या है अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल डिक्लेयर करने के? So in that, the Supreme Court said that when we talk about the freedom of speech and expression, it also gives you the right, the freedom to not to speak and to remain silent. If it is also freedom of association and movement, it is also freedom of not forming any association and movement. So if it is a freedom of right to life, then it should also be a freedom of not to live. Okay, so Article 21 also have two definitions. So you have a right to live, you have not a right to live. So that means you can die on your own, you can live on your own. It is your complete discretion that whether you want to do or whether you do not want to do. So let's say you, just for example, I think you have remember Anna Hazare, he sat on fasting for an extended period of time. It was his own discretion. Even if it was taking his life away, it was his own discretion. I hope you understand. So Supreme Court said that right to take away the life, and you are punishing somebody for that, because right to life flows into the above direction, into the negative direction. So association and movement is a right, so non-association and movement is also right. Right to life is a right, so right to not live is also right. If you want to say that I do not want to live, and you have declared in public that I am going to die this on this and that day, the police is under the responsibility that they should prevent you from committing suicide. But let's say you are adamant at a certain place to that anybody can stop you. If you are in a complete vegetative state, because there are a lot of people who have been there, and the famous case is Aruna Shanabag case in that. So for 18 years she have been fighting, and when she was raped by a ward boy in the hospital, and she was a nurse over there. So Aruna Shanbag case, she was in completely vegetative state, and she was finally guaranteed the death by the Supreme Court under Article 21 of the Constitution, that they should also have a right to life. If a person is completely incapacitated, how she should be treated. Now that has been the case there. So therefore Supreme Court said that something that is provided by fundamental right, that is right to live and right not to live, cannot be punished by the law. So therefore Article 309 is unconstitutional. I hope this is clear. Now what happened in the 2017 Mental Health Care Act? In 2017 Mental Health Care Act, the provision that was announced was that notwithstanding anything that is contained in the 309 provision of the IPC, if a person try to commit suicide, he shall be presumed suffering from severe stress and shall not be tried under the law, and it will only apply to those who suffer from mental illness. Okay, so what the government have done, they have said that if you are trying to commit a suicide and you will be presumed, it is not yet proven, you will be presumed that you have been suffering from either mental stress or either some form of severe stress. So you will not be tried. That is, the criminalization is taken away. And it will only apply to those persons who are suffering from mental illness. Okay, so that means every person who is of sound mind and has been proven, he can still be tried under Section 309. Okay, so that is the thing that we are currently debating now. Okay, तो इस बात को ध्यान रखिएगा. I hope this is clear. And please remember, there are no solutions to it. I cannot tell it. Okay, because it is still a thing that is currently debated. When the Supreme Court judges are not able to have a conclusion about it, we cannot have a conclusion about it. Of course, you can have an opinion, Of course, I believe that the person who have been trying to commit a suicide should be provided a counseling rather than punishment. But then there is an immediate threat in the society that every person will basically try to threaten, and a type of a thing may appear in the society that I will commit suicide. So suicide prevention is necessary, but the provocation provocation of any person for you to commit suicide are also needed to be taken into consideration. So these are some of the things, because once you start uh, giving these threats in public life, I think it becomes very difficult for the social structure to stand. So you have to have a balance between the two. Of course, the victim who has been suffering from suicidal thoughts and other things have to be cared for. But on the other hand, you also have to see that which are the persons who are basically intending, or which are the persons who are involved in the party. So I hope this is clear. The next one is the corpses did not add to Ganga pollution. This is said by center. पढ़ लीजिएगा, important नहीं है. Okay, राइजी के बारे में हमने already पढ़ लिया. Armenia PM again wins majority in the poll despite anger over war. So a lot of people have been basically talking about that Azerbaijan have basically have taken some of the territory, and he has been, Nikol Pashinyan have been accused that he have given some of the territory away. But over the time, what happened, that he was supposed to be losing because he was in a losing cause, but he did not lose, and he was once again elected as the Armenia Prime Minister. Okay, so I think that is it for today.